In Stardew Valley, there are 3 types of weapons and 64 weapons in total. However, throughout the many years of game development, some of these weapons have had to be scrapped, leaving only traces of them to exist deep within the game files. So, without further ado, smash that like button, and welcome to the forgotten weapons of Stardew Valley. The first group of unimplemented weapons that we're going to be going over are the NPC weapons. Now, out of everything I have showcased in this Forgotten series, the NPC weapons are probably the most commonly known out of all of them, thanks to a certain someone. But essentially, how this works is that there are 10 weapons named after NPCs in the game. For example, you have Sam's old guitar, Alex's bat, and so on. Now, when I took a closer look at this, I was like, wait a minute, all these weapons are named after the town's bachelors. Now, you may be thinking, Mossy, there's a total of 12 bachelors in the game, but there are only 10 NPC weapons. So, what happened here? Well, in the very early versions of the game, Shane and Emily were not actually bachelors yet. In fact, they only became bachelors because they were voted in by the community back in 2016. And considering the fact that these weapons never made it into an official version of the game, so they were made in an early version of Stardew Valley, this seems to line up. Now, enough of that, let's actually take a look at the weapons. There's Alex's bat, which does a respectable 1 to 3 damage, and there's Sam's old guitar, which also does 1 to 3 damage. But then you get Harvey's Mallet, which again does 1 to 3 damage, but then you look a little bit closer and you see plus 158 speed. It's so fast, bro, what the fuck? It also has like plus 5 weight, which is pretty cool, I guess. There's also Maru's wrench, Penny's fryer, Seb's lost mace, Haley's iron, Abby's planchette, Elliott's pencil, which, you know, Elliott must be a pretty fast rider, like what the hell, plus 158 speed, and Leah's Whittler. And the best thing about these weapons is that you can actually access them using a mod like CJB item spawner, because they are actually in the game, they were just never officially added. But why were they never officially added? Well, as far as I can tell, ConcernApe has never explicitly stated why the NPC weapons were never officially added into the game. However, I have collected a few theories about the use of them. Theory 1. This one's the most common theory. Essentially, what could have happened is that these weapons were given to you by the appropriate spouse once you did something important. So maybe once they moved in with you, or once you reached the secret 14 hearts, or when you finally subscribed to my channel, or whatever. But looking at these stats, not only do I think that ConcernApe never finished balancing them, but I also think that they were supposed to be super OP and fun to use. You know, because of the plus 158 speed that most of these weapons have. However, as we know, the Galaxy kit, so like the Galaxy sword, hammer, etc., were for the longest time the most powerful and endgame weapons in the game, and they are so much better than the NPC weapons, so ConcernApe probably just scrapped them. He also may have had a hard time balancing the NPC weapons too. Theory 2. I just created this theory out of thin air, but basically, you know that mod called NPC Adventures? You know, the one where you can take your spouse with you on adventures. Like, you can go to the mines with them, and while they're down there, they can kill stuff for you? Well, maybe, at one point in the game, ConcernApe actually planned to implement a feature like this, officially. And maybe these NPC weapons are just merely a remnant of this long-lost feature. Now, I doubt that this theory is actually correct though, because there would probably be more evidence of it existing within the game files, just like every other unimplemented feature in this game. But hey, that's just a theory. Again, Theory 3. Alright, I lied. There is no Theory 3. I'm just straight up telling you to subscribe to my channel and leave a hate comment. I mean a nice comment for the algorithm, so that more people just like you can learn more useless facts and trivia about Stardew Valley. Anyway, you know the Galaxy sword and hammer, and you know how as of the 1.5 update, you can actually upgrade them to their final form using Galaxy souls. Well, that isn't actually a new idea. In fact, the process of slowly upgrading a weapon until you have its final form is an idea that has actually been in Stardew Valley for quite some time. Allow me to introduce the next segment. On the 28th of October 2018, a Reddit user by the name of Helena Needs Hugs, well, don't we all, wrote to the Stardew Valley subreddit with a post titled, "Has anyone ever found these items?" which contained a list full of items that they had never found. Now, for most of these items, they eventually found out how to obtain them, but a few of them were still unknown items. So they took to the comment section of their post to say this: "Summoning God ConcernApe. Can you confirm the existence / locations of Work Boots, Dark Sword, Holy Blade, and Femur? They then also took a section from the wiki that they wanted confirmation on, which states, here is unimplemented game code allowing the player to receive a battered sword through the mail as a reward for an unknown event. This sword could be upgraded by unknown means 4 times, changing it into a hero sword, holy sword, dark sword, and finally galaxy sword. And this is why I say that the upgradability of the galaxy sword and hammer was actually taken from a long lost idea. Anyway, the user tried to summon Concerned Ape and it worked. Early the next day, Concerned Ape wrote back a response. I could be wrong, but I don't think that these items are currently, so as of 1.3 update back in 2018, possible to obtain. I think I intended for them to be, but must have forgotten to actually put them in. So if anyone has proof that they found any of these items, please let me know. Eric then goes on to say this. In earlier, pre-launch, versions of Stardew Valley, there was a point in the mines where you had a choice to either take the Holy Blade, more powerful against ghosts, skeletons, etc., or the Dark Sword, chance to leech health from enemies. That's just Aatrox's sword from League Legends. The Femur you were supposed to get from digging, and the Work Boots were probably supposed to be either dropped rarely in the mines or sold at the Adventurers Guild. Might have to re-implement these eventually. But did Concerned Ape re-implement these eventually? Where are these weapons today? Well, the Work Boots can be acquired from fishing treasure chests and the level 10 chest in the mines if you have remixed rewards turned on. The Femur is a level 2 club that can be obtained from a floor 10 chest in the mines if you again have remixed rewards on, which also means that these 2 items were officially added in the 1.5 update, 2 years after this post happened. Also, the Dark Sword is a level 9 sword that is dropped by haunted skulls in the quarry mines, and the Holy Blade, as of the 1.5 update, is still unobtainable. There are also 2 more weapons that are currently not officially added into the game that you can gain access to using an item spawner. The Galaxy Slingshot is the only unimplemented slingshot in the game. Now you're probably thinking about the 2 most important questions for any weapon in the game. What does it look like? And how OP is it? Well, it looks like this, a normal galaxy weapon with all the purple and everything, and it does, according to the wiki, roughly 4 times the damage of the regular slingshot using the same ammo, which is roughly 2 times better than the master slingshot if you're wondering. I personally wish Concerned Ape added this slingshot into the game, as the master slingshot doesn't really feel like the endgame slingshot, so to speak. And also adding another galaxy weapon to the game would be pretty cool. The Rapier is a level 4 sword that is unfortunately unobtainable, in normal conditions where you of course don't have mods. This weapon is a pretty cool early game sword, and I wish that it was actually implemented into the game. Also, something weird about this sword is that in the 1.5 update, the level of the sword was lowered from 6 to 4, and its price was also reduced from 300 gold to 200 gold, even though it's not implemented in the game. So changing its stats would be absolutely redundant. So why did it change? Well, let's think about it for a second. In Stardew Valley, the level of a sword is determined by an automatic and mathematical system, so the more damage a sword does, and probably a lot of other stuff, the higher it is automatically leveled, and the higher its price is automatically set. And in the 1.5 update, Concerned Ape added a lot of new swords that did way more damage than swords previously. So these new swords would have changed the average sword damage across the game, and the game probably lowered the Rapier's level and price automatically, because it now valued the Rapier's stats less highly. So I don't think Concerned Ape manually changed the sword stats, but like, again, I'm not him, so for all I know I could be wrong. Also, don't ask me why I know about this automatic level rating system. I've just spent way too long messing around with Stardew Valley's game files. It's honestly sad. But yeah, now you know everything you need to know about the forgotten weapons of Stardew Valley. Do with this knowledge what you will. Maybe keep it to yourself, maybe tell a friend and spread the word, whatever. But whatever you do, make sure you watch one of these 2 videos next, as they will teach you even more forgotten knowledge about the game, Stardew Valley.